Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne and I'm the Product Manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And this is a weekly webinar that we run to talk about the CI Tools. This week we're going to be having a look at some of the new things in ArchiCAD 29. So you may have been here a couple of weeks ago when ArchiCAD 29 was launched, and we launched the CI tools as well. I went over some of the new functionality in the Fitout and Annotate tools at the time. We've just released an update to all of the tools earlier this morning to update some things about how our cloud licenses work with that new floating functionality that I've talked about in a previous session. And we've also added some new functionality to 3 of the tools. We've added some new features to the Fitout tool to allow you to create grids of sets. We've added a new function to the Annotate tool to let you substitute 2D elements. So that is fills, lines, and what's the other one? Fills, lines, and pens. And we have also added a bunch of new trees from the Osprey catalog to the Sites tool. I believe it was around about 90 or so new trees, I think. Don't quote me on that number, actually. I can't remember the exact number, but quite a few new trees. And we've also added some new functionality to the way that those work. So today I'm just going to go over roughly what the new features were with the 29 release, and then also specifically what the new features were that we added in this morning. The main thing that was fixed with regards to cloud licensing was that in some situations, people using ArchiCAD 29 and using cloud licenses may have had trouble activating a trial version of some of the CI tools. So if you hit that problem at all, if you were trying to try out the tools or something like that earlier on this month, then that will be fixed up, that should be fixed up now. So you'll be able to get those trials to activate. So that's what the change was in there, but the CI tools cloud licensing other features are still in place as they were, so you can float licenses and that sort of thing. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail shortly. Before we start, obviously I'm going to be using ArchiCAD 29 today because all of the new functions are in ArchiCAD 29 specifically. If you have any questions during today's session, just enter those in the chat panel, and I will check in on that midway through and then towards the end. And if there's any questions that come up there that I can answer while we're live, I'll do so. If you think of any questions that you wanted to ask later on, just email those through to us at nz.support@centralinnovation.com. That will turn into a support ticket with our team here, and either someone from the support team will get in touch with you, or they will forward it on to me and I will get in touch with you. I'm just going to turn down my microphone volume a little bit because it looks like it's peaking a bit there. Sorry about that if that was too loud. That should be a bit better now. So yeah, let's get underway. I'll just quickly check and see if there's anything come in at the start about my mic not working or anything like that before we get underway. Okay, no, nothing like that. So let's get started. So the new functionality in the CI tools. So the first one that I mentioned was the Fitout tool. So as you may know, with ArchiCAD 29, we made a pretty major change to how the Fitout tool works. One of the big pieces of feedback that we got about the Fitout tool when we released it with ArchiCAD 28 is that people would like to be able to create their own room types for Fitouts. So rather than using the handful of Fitouts that we made, there was bedroom, bathroom, laundry, consultation room, and office layout. The consult room and office layout were added in an update, but to begin with, it was just those 3. So yeah, one of the main things that we heard from people is they would want to be able to create their own types of rooms using whatever objects they like. And so that's what we've added in the ArchiCAD 29 update for the Fitout tool. You can make your own rooms to do whatever you would like. So the way that they work is that the Fitout tool now has 2 different sort of units to it. There are Fitouts, which are entire rooms. So that is these here. And so we've got a bedroom fit out is a good example. So the bedroom fit out consists of a bed, a bedside table, a lamp, a set of drawers, and a mirror with a smoke alarm up here. And so that's all of the contents of a room. You can place it down in the room and it will do all of the parts in a room. Obviously, you'll probably add other parts, but the idea is that it will cover the whole room. What we have built now is essentially the building block of a fit out, which we call sets. They're called sets because they are preset collections of items that have been set up in a way to tell them what they need to do. And what you'll do is you create sets for all of the things that you want to be able to put in rooms, and then you can use those sets either as they are, or you can create fit out rooms to place as many down as you like as well. So the way that that works is quite simple. There are two elements required for any set. One of them is a clearance space object, and the other one is the thing that you actually want to place in the set. The clearance space object won't be visible in your model or anything like that once you place down one of these sets, but what it's there for is to tell the fit out tool what the clearance space is, as you can probably guess by the name of the element that you're placing. So I'm going to go and grab one now, just grabbing the object tool. And if I go into the fit out library, here we go. CI tools fit out, there's a folder called clearances. And we've got the CI set clearance object here. And this is the single object that we'll use for any fit outs to do with setting up the clearance for them. And you can see we've got a couple of settings of how this will work. So the top one is probably the most important one for most of these, and that is to let us choose what the location is of this clearance item. So we've got above floor, so this means that they will be placed from the floor upwards, so that is anything that I guess obeys gravity, but anything that sits on the floor is covered by above floor. So we've got the options of freestanding. That means that the only requirement for it is that it is above the floor somewhere and that there's nothing cutting into this space that you can see in 3D here. Above floor against a wall is exactly what it sounds like. It is the same requirement, so you can see the clearance space that it takes up here is this sort of light blue outlined rectangle here. That's the clearance space that it requires to be clear, but it also requires it to be hard up against a wall here, which you can see indicated with that brick wall behind it. The third option for above floor is above floor in corner, and you can probably guess what that means. Basically, it's just that there has to be a wall on two sides of it rather than just on one side of it. So you can set up this set to always put itself into a corner. The next group of three are the same settings, so freestanding, against wall, and in corner, but these are for below ceiling, and this is for the objects that defy gravity by being attached to the ceiling in some way. So this could be a projector, this could be a light fixture, this could be a smoke alarm, anything like that that is suspended from the ceiling rather than sitting on the floor. I probably don't need to explain that anymore. You understand how sticking things to roofs works. So those have the same settings otherwise, though. So we choose if we want them to be against a wall, in a corner, or freestanding. Obviously, in most cases, for things suspended from the ceiling, you probably want them freestanding. Below that, we have two special clearance objects. That is the door circulation object, and this is the object that tells the fit out tool rather where a door is so that it knows how to skirt around it. It has some default settings which will work for most doors, but if you want to modify that, you can do here by choosing what the circulation space around the door should be. And the window treatment works in a similar way, but for a treatment around a window instead. So it's just holding the place around the window that you require. So for our purposes, we're just going to make a fairly basic new set here. So we're going to go with above the floor, and we'll choose freestanding. So this will let us place anywhere. Now further down the settings, we have the orientation. We can choose for the rotation to be fixed, to be randomized. This is not useful for things that go into rooms probably, but if you're wanting to randomly create, say, I don't know, maybe a crowd of people or some plants, or you just want a random selection of, I don't know, junk cluttered around the room because you want to make your building look like it has children living in it or something, you can choose that option. And rotate to nearest wall is exactly what it sounds like. It will just automatically rotate the item that is contained in the clearance area to the nearest wall. We're going to stick with fixed rotation because I don't want this one to be rotating in some unexpected way. And then we can choose if it may be mirrored or not, so that will just let you, it will tell you whether it lets you mirror the items in here or if they're always supposed to be placed as we are going to place them now. So I'll let it be mirrored. That's fine in this case. The priority is used to determine what things can push other set items out of the way. So if you have a set which is a chair and you have another set which is let's say something a bit less movable, let's say a table. You could have a table that you don't want to move when you move chairs around it. You would set the table to have a higher priority to the chairs, and that will mean that if you move the table, the chairs get out of the way, but if you move the chairs, the table doesn't get out of the way. The chairs just sort of bounce off it when you try and do that. So you can control that here. Again, we're not going to use this for now, but that's what that does. And then the final thing is to choose the shape of our clearance item. You can see we've got rectangular selected at the moment, but we also have L-shaped and circular options here, so we can cover off those types of shapes as well. Obviously, in most cases, you probably will want to use rectangles, so we'll stick with that for now. I'm going to click OK and place down this circulation object. Actually, let me just undo that and give it the default settings so that it looks like what it'll look like for you. Freestanding. So we'll place that down, and this is what you get with a circulation space object. So with the sort of bluish diagonal lines here, that's showing the circulation space. So that means nothing else is allowed to intrude in this space here. This is exclusively reserved for the item that we're going to put here. This line at the back here, if you're going against a wall, this is where this will be placed, but this is essentially showing you the origin point and direction of placement for this element. So if I place something with its back to here, it will behave the way that I expect it to. Because we're doing a freestanding one, you don't technically need to set this as the back because it doesn't really matter, but that is where the wall will be. If you choose to have one against a wall, you'll see a wall shown there instead. So I'm going to leave this like it is for now, and we're going to go and grab just a chair to put in here. So moving away from the Fitout library, I'll go to the standard library, and let's go and grab a chair. Nice bistro chair here. Oh, wicker one, lovely. Okay, so we'll grab this and place it down. Got our chair here, and let's just move it into a sensible spot on our clearance space. That's hard up against the back of the clearance space. We do want to add a little bit of clearance behind this and to the side. So I'm going to move it out, let's say about 70 mils, and also down about 70 mils as well. I'm just eyeballing this, but obviously you'll measure this when you're actually doing it. And then we'll do the same with the outside size of this. So we'll move the side in. So grabbing these purple hotspots here, we'll move the side in to just about here and just about there, and then we'll move this end. Probably want to allow a bit of leg room here. Let's go with about that long. Obviously, you could use actual dimensions there. I'm just sketching this at the moment. So there we go. We've got a chair in a bit of a clearance space that would make sense for a chair to need to have a little bit of room at the back, a bit more room in the front so you can sit down okay, and some room to the side so that you can wag your arms around. That will do the trick for us. So that is the sort of the most basic set that we could use. So I'm going to select both of those items. So we've got two selected items, the chair and the clearance item, and we're going to save it as a set. So I go to my CI Tools menu, Fitout, Save Objects as a Set. That will bring up my library browser here. I'm going to stick it in the embedded library for now, so this means it'll be inside this project. And I'll just call this Chair 01. Actually, that's probably not a good move. There might be something called that, Chair Set 01. Save that. Now, when I hit save, it's going to ask me if I want to delete these pieces and place a new set in place. If you are just creating something on the fly, this is a good one to do. I'm going to say no to this because I want to leave it here as a reference so that if I later want to update my set to have a bigger clearance space or something like that, then I can come back to it easily and modify it. So I'll say no, and we'll just leave those items as is. And now we'll move over to an actual room here. So we've got bedroom 1. If I go into my set tool from the toolbox, you will see that chair set 01 is selected in my embedded library here, and it looks like that wicker chair that we selected. So I can hit OK on that and place it down, and it will obey the settings that we gave it. So that is to say, the circulation space that we set up around it won't allow us to do something silly like have the circulation be sticking through a wall or something like that. You also may notice that when I placed the set down into this room, we automatically got these blue boxes around the windows and door, and that is because essentially the tool is saying, okay, you're using this room as a fit out, I'm going to automatically place clearance areas around your windows and doors for you. That's why the door can't protrude over here. It's why it won't let me drag it down there, because it won't fit in that space. So it's just sitting out here. Obviously, you could place these clearance spaces manually. So you can see we've got window clearance and a door clearance placed here. You could do those manually so you can manipulate them how you want. We can manipulate them now that they've been placed as well. They're just normal clearance objects. Now, they don't have any view in 3D, but that's what they look like. So we can redefine the settings for those if we need to, but it's done that automatically, and it'll do that for any time you place down a set or a fit out into a zone that doesn't already have clearances around windows and doors. So now that we've got our chair placed down there, this is the new thing that we just added in the update today. You'll see that there are 2 new purple hotspots here, one over here and one down at the bottom here. And what we can do is we can just grab hold of one of these and stretch the line out, and it will just repeat the units across as many as we need, but it will respect the circulation space as it goes across. So you can see, or you could maybe see, that this was in a little bit further into the corner here. Now that we've stretched it out, it won't allow us to circulate hard up against that clearance area here. So it has actually pushed things down a little bit here. And if I grab this hotspot here and move it out in this direction, you'll see that it will add as many of those as we need in that direction as well. So it's drawn those for us as well. And these still behave like fit out sets. So we can drag them around to wherever we need them to be, and they'll let us do that as well. So also, we can go into the settings. You may have noticed this just before. You can see the amount of rows and columns that are set up in here as well. So you can enter those numerically rather than stretching them out once you place them if you would like to. So that is the main new function in the update this morning for the fit out tool. I think that'll be very helpful, especially if you're outfitting like a lecture theatre or maybe a movie theatre or something like that. Obviously, chairs aren't the only thing it would be good for, but that could be quite useful for that sort of thing. In a lot of cases, you might have an entire workstation set up that you want to tile across a big open plan office or something. You could do that, just set up the circulation space to be how big each desk should have around it. You can have multiple items inside a set, so you can have a desk and a chair and a computer and all that jazz, and then stretch it out to as many as you would need it to be, and it will just fill the space for you. So that is the new updates for the fit out tool. The new change that we added for the Annotate tool is to be able to, actually, before I jump into Annotate, I'll quickly check, see if there's any questions before we move on to that one. Okay, looks like no questions at this stage. So the Annotate tool, as I said, will now let you substitute 2D attributes. So if I go into my CI Tools menu and go to Annotate, we've got our convert dialog like we did before, only now you will see at the top. So with 29, we added this new replace fonts option to the text conversion. So before you could convert the case of text, we added the option to replace fonts as well. So you can turn that on and then set up a sort of a mapping for fonts. So you can say, I want everything that's Arial to be replaced with our old favorite Comic Sans. and that will go through and replace all Arial fonts through the entire project with Comic Sans, which you probably want to do as often as you can do, I would imagine. So you can set that up, hit OK, and then hit OK here, and it will go through your project and make that change for you. That's still there with this update, but we've added a new section here, attribute conversion, and it will do exactly what it looks like it would do. So we can replace fills, we can replace pens, and we can replace line types through the model. So I can come in here and I can click on replace line types, hit the edit button, and it will bring up a very similar looking substitution setting, and there we can tell it what we want it to do. So I'll just clear that out. So up at the top here, we can toggle through the 3 different types as well. So at the top, we've got the set default option here. The tooltip is kind of giving away what it does here, but essentially what this will do is that if there's no rule set up down at the bottom here for any of the lines that are in the project, do you want to switch everything by default? So I don't imagine that you would want to use this in most cases, but if you are, say, converting, maybe you're working in a project that used to use a completely different pen set, line type set, than you are using now, you might want to convert everything in a project to a certain line type. You can do that here. So you can say set default, and it'll just mean that anything that doesn't have a replacement rule here will become whatever you set here. So you can come in here and say, make everything a hedge if it's not specified something different down below. I'm not going to do that because it's a horrible idea in this case, but if you do need to do that, that's available. It might be more useful for fills and pens probably, but lines, I don't think you probably need to do that very often. And then down here, we can set up our replacement rules. So looking in our current drawing, we can say add rules to list, and it'll pick up the lines that it can see at the moment. And at the moment, we've got it set to solid line goes to solid line. So it'll replace solid line with itself, which obviously won't do anything. But we can come in here and say solid lines, they should actually be contour lines. Hit the plus button. We can say that triple dashed lines, they just need to tone it down and be small dashed instead. And let's say that everything that is a hedge from the top should be converted to a hedge from the side instead. So we can set up the rules for what we want it to do here, and once we hit OK and then OK again, it will go through the whole project and swap out all of those attributes. Now, if this is something that you're doing quite often, maybe you have a whole bunch of projects that you need to run this on, you can set up all of the rules here and then import or export them using these buttons over to the side here. So we can hit the export button, save out the conversion rules, and then reuse that across multiple projects. So it makes it so that if you do have a sort of a standard change that you need to make in a lot of places, you can use that to get that done fairly easily. So we can hit OK on this one. It's going to do some horrible things to our project, but that's okay. Not sure if I'm seeing any fills at the moment, but we've got a couple showing now. Just choose something that's easy to spot. Let's do that. Okay, so we've got those two set up now. We can hit OK, and that will go through and kind of blast everything. Oh, we had an element selected. That was why it picked up strangely. So if you have an item selected, it will only apply it to the selected items. That was what we had selected here, which I did not notice. No, it didn't actually. Sorry. Yeah, it looks like that may have actually done that wrong. It should have done it on the whole project. So I'll just deselect and let's run that again. You can see that it has done it. So all of our chairs are made out of dashed lines now, which looks pretty rough. Convert. Current drawing. We could get it to do the entire project as well, which seems like playing with fire. I'll leave that for now. Hit OK, and that should do everything here. So yeah, you can see my line work is turned into dashes all the way across here, and that sort of thing. So that has done the trick for us. Now, one of the things that I'm in particular interested to hear from you about is with this particular function, is this useful to you? So first of all, is it useful? And second, is there any other type of thing that you'd want it to be able to do? We've restricted it to 2D items at the moment, so it won't modify your sort of BIM elements of your project. You can't do building materials and that sort of thing at this stage. Obviously, that's an area that you might want to be able to do. It's quite a lot more dangerous as well because it will make significant changes to your model if you do it, which is why we've kind of stayed away from it for now. But I'll be keen to hear if you are interested in this tool or if you are currently using the tool. Is it useful to you? Does it do the things you want in the way that you want and that sort of thing? I'd love to hear from you. So please do let me know if you do have any thoughts or comments about that at all. And just before I finish up, the last thing I wanted to show you was the plants changes. So just going into the object tool here, we're going to go to our sites library. So CI tools, sites, whoops, not construction. And then we'll go to the trees. The plants cutout folder, and I'm going to go into ground cover, and I'll choose one of the new ground cover objects. Here's one of them here. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that AE together, so is this one here. It's Pink Fusion. And what we've done is we've added the option to show a top-down view of the plant in 3D. So especially with ground cover items, one of the things that you might find is that if you place a couple of them around like we are doing now, and then look at them in 3D, depending on the angle that you're looking at them, it can, given that they're called ground cover, they don't actually look like they cover very much ground at all, which of course is not true. They actually would be because they're 3D. They're not thin slivers like this. And so what we've done is we've added this option to get them to show a top-down view as well. So in the model settings here, we've got single cutout selected, and then we have profile only in 3D. If I click on this drop-down box here, you'll see that on the new items, we also have two other options. So we can say footprint only in 3D, which will give us a kind of a stick-on effect here. So it'll show just what they look like from the top down, and they'll be stuck to whatever element they're stuck on. You can see those are some varying heights there because the randomization was turned on, so some are bigger than others. And then we have the option to show both at the same time, so profile and footprint. So if I hit OK on that one, you'll see that this gives us, obviously, if you go to an angle like this, it's going to look pretty rough because it looks like we have a bunch of bush-shaped aeroplanes or something like that. But if you look at it from this angle here, it gives a bit more of a effect of something that's actually three-dimensional and is taking up space in that way. Obviously, going to certain views, the same as with the ordinary billboard objects, it's going to look a little bit strange. And if you zoom in too much and just look directly at this one, you can see obviously how it is set up. But at the scale of showing a sort of a render of a planted area, this can be quite useful. So if we just let it do a rebuild so they reface the camera, you can see that at this point you can't really tell that it's two images sort of mashed together. So it does give you the effect of the actual volume that they take up in space in 3D. So that is a new function that's been added with the latest update of the Sites tool, and that applies to all of the newer ground cover items that we've added in here. So you can see it will apply to this one as well. And this one here, you can see profile only in 3D. So you can go through all of those and see those. With our older objects, this isn't available, and the reason for that is simply because we don't have top-down images of those plants. So you can't apply it on those ones. It's only on the newer ones here. So if you go into any of them and you can see the Osbreed Green Life logo here, that means it's one of the newer ones, and it will have the option to show the top-down view as well. So that currently only applies to ground cover. One of the other things, obviously, is that it might be something that might be useful on, say, a tree as well. we've done some experiments, and it tends to look a little bit strange having um, a floor plan view of the plant hovering at like 1.5 meters off the ground. It looks strange, so we haven't put that in for now, but if that's something that you think would be useful, I'd also love to hear about that. So please do get in touch with us and let us know what you think about that. But that is the all of the things I wanted to talk about today. So that is the new plant items in the Sites tool. We've got the new attribute conversion rules in the Annotate tool, and we have the new grid option for the Fitout tool over here. So if you have any questions about any of that, send it through to the nz.support rather at centralinnovation.com email address, and the support team here can help you with any questions that you have about those. If you have any suggestions or comments about how those work or how you'd like them to work, please also send them through to the same place, and someone there will either help you out or they will forward you on to me, and I can talk to you a bit more about it to find out how you think it should work and that sort of thing. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a good idea of what is available. I'd love to hear from you if you have any comments, but otherwise that's it from me for this week. So thanks very much for attending, and I'll catch you at the next one. Bye.